Hello everybody and welcome to this week's update from the South African Business Council here in Dubai on Expo. We're only a few weeks away. It's truly exciting times as we get closer to the Expo event. Over the last few weeks, we had the privilege to meet with some of the top CEOs, their executive teams, and also really the people that are shaping and investing and making Expo a great success, not only for their own companies, for their own brands, but also for the UAE as a nation. It's truly inspirational and also motivational just to hear their stories and how they're reflecting about the importance of Expo. This week is no different. We had the privilege to sit down with Nick Dreyer, the CEO of Veldskoen. Now, for typical South Africans, we know Veldskoen fairly well. We've seen their footwear, we use their products, and we're also quite familiar that they've had great success over the last 5 years. Phenomenal growth as they globalize their brand and truly think about that client journey. I love the time with Nick Dreyer. His passion about putting soul into his product is truly inspirational and phenomenal on so different levels. I think when you hear Nick talk about Expo, you also get a sense of how important it is for entrepreneurs and for businesses to reach new markets and use the UAE as a corridor into a global market, but also into Africa. Nick goes into a fair bit of detail around how he as an entrepreneur is rethinking his value chain, elevating the level of the UAE in terms of his business exposure, and ultimately preparing for Expo. I love the time with Nick. I'm sure you will as well. Enjoy.
Our journey is evolving. Each day, we take another step forward on our shared path. We are all connected, and we all collaborate. In some ways that are obvious, and many which aren't. With your support and commitment, we look forward to a brighter future. And we are excited to announce that Expo 2020 Dubai will now open its gates from October 1st, 2021 until March 31st, 2022. For the world to come together and celebrate human brilliance and achievement like never before. We are one.
Mr. Nick Dreyer, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. And look, today we're going to speak a lot about Expo. We're going to talk about the opportunity of Expo, the opportunity in terms of how it creates value for South African businesses, and obviously at a global scale, what it means for companies like Veldskoen. But maybe it would be good to get your sense of Veldskoen, because from a personal perspective, I must say, when people, wear your footwear, it seems like, something gets activated. I don't know if it's the South African soul or just the key product itself, but it feels and it seems like something happens when they put your shoes on. So maybe you can tell us, what's the secret sauce?
It's so funny that you talk about that, because we've actually coined a phrase, and I think it's a made-up word. But what Veldskoen does is it connects us as South Africans, and what it does is it helps us to define this concept, which we've termed South Africanness. What is it that makes us South Africans? What is it that makes us, I think, one of the great people of the world, and one of the best places on earth to be and to visit? And it's steeped in history and tradition and, innovation. And but most importantly, I think it's the character of the people that live here. And in a strange way, I think Veldskoen represents that. Our business is born of hundreds and hundreds of years of brand equity in the term Veldskoen. As you know, Veldskoen is a beloved footwear term that has been used all over Africa, and it's known for a couple of really important things. One, that it's really, really well made. And secondly, that it's really comfortable. And then a little bit that it doesn't take itself too seriously. And that there's a level of comfort and a level of disarmament that comes with wearing a pair of Veldskoen. It looks just as good in a pair of jeans as it does in a suit. And so there's this cross section of people that can wear it, which is amazing. But we started our business 5 years ago, and it was born out of a conversation, in fact, an argument between myself and my co-founder, Ross Zonda. He was driving in a car and I was driving in a car, and we were thinking about what the South African athletes at the last Olympics, the Rio Olympics, could have been wearing to make them look more South African. And at the time, they just weren't wearing any apparel that looked South African at all. And the argument was, what could they have been wearing? And Ross Zondag, my colleague and co-founder, said that they could have been wearing Veldskoen. But of course, I thought of Veldskoen and I thought, cheapers, that's a bit boring. But we thought, why don't we make Veldskoen a little bit more spicy and add the great Mzansi colors, the colors to the laces and the soles. And so when we did that, we decided to pick the colors of the South African flag. And in that conversation, we got these photoshopped images back from a friend of ours that had designed it. And in the same conversation, when we saw it, we knew that there was something there. Now, Ross is an ex-builder, and I'm an ex-art dealer / events guy.
Okay.
And we had no reason to even contemplate a footwear business or an apparel business or a brand business or an e-commerce business, but we set about doing it, much to the torment of our family and friends who thought we were crazy. But we started a business called Veldskoen Shoes, ended up making shoes, putting them onto the internet via social media, and South Africa went absolutely nuts for them. And just like that, Veldskoen, a shoe company, which seems like it's been around for hundreds of years, started 5 years ago. And in the last 5 years, it's been one of the most remarkable companies I'm blessed to have been part of, because it captured the attention and it made a lot of noise globally and locally, being, for example, one of the first companies ever to non-owned by Woolworths to be in one of our biggest retailers, Woolworths. We, of course, had global people wearing our shoes. We had Harry, he used to be Prince Harry, now he's Harry. He got into the shoes. And then famously, we had an investment in the US from our partners, who included the shareholders Ashton Kutcher and Mark Cuban. And then we hit this like global stage, loads of incredible milestones during the last 5 years, and then culminating, of course, just recently in a full circle brand moment where our athletes at the Olympics, both in the able-bodied and Paralympic Games, when they walked out at the opening ceremony, were wearing Veldskoen shoes, which for three of us, our third founder, Nick Latuf, joined us a bit later, for the three of us was the most ridiculous moment, because we'd managed to achieve a goal that is so stratospherically strange and hard to do. But we, with the help of SASCOC and South African business and the South African public, managed to make sure that our athletes, when they walked out, looked South African and felt good about being South African and felt connected to the rest of the world being South African. And that is a huge privilege. So that's the really quick rundown. There's a million stories in between there, but that's Veldskoen Shoes.
Well, I'm sure. And again, I mean, it's amazing to hear the story, but also to see the unbelievable growth, and I think what's quite unique to the Veldskoen business is that you've stayed extremely authentic, not only in the product, but the personal touch that you bring for the product. And even that you've grown globally now. I mean, you are proudly South African, but you trade across the world, right? I think the last time I looked was about 28 countries.
That's exactly right. We started in South Africa. We were always going to be a proudly South African company, manufacturing our shoes in South Africa. And the reason we do that is because we believe that ultimately South Africa somehow has a little bit of a confidence problem, which is unfounded, because we've got great talents and we've got really amazing manufacturing ability. And to be honest, I think we have the most exportable, interesting stories in the world. Yeah. So there's no reason why South African brands can't be global. So we started in South Africa, but we started telling really remarkable stories, and we used obviously digital to do that. But we immediately found audience globally. Firstly, through South Africans living globally, but then into territories that just identified with the brand ethos and the set of values that we bring, which is enthusiasm and happiness, and also this like sense of journey and life and taking life on with a really comfortable pair of shoes. And that found traction globally, specifically through our digital storytelling abilities. So before COVID, in February 2020, we were in 4 countries. We moved quite quickly into Europe and into the UK, into America, into Aussie. But since then, we've grown into 28 countries globally. And we do that through really smart partnering and distribution partnerships, mostly with South Africans, because we feel like they help us grow the business, and they're identifiably, they can identify with the product. But we've grown rapidly, not just in volume of shoes that we move, but specifically in our global reach and our ability to talk to a global audience. And I'm going to come back to it. It's about this concept of spreading positivity about South Africa, South African business, South African endeavor, and South African brands. And that's what we're very, very proud of the fact that we've managed to do that.
Yeah, and I think that sentiment resonates with us as well as the South African Business Council. I see once again South African products coming into the UAE and specifically here in Dubai. And it starts off with South Africans that obviously are, quite unique in terms of understanding some of the nuances of the culture. But very rapidly, and I think this is also happening with Veldskoen, we're seeing your market diversify. And with that strategy, we also see your products being diversified. So if I look at your product here in the UAE, I'm seeing a lot of other people that are non-South Africans also consuming your product, also feeling and getting an ethos of that passion of great products that are made personalized. So it's great to see. But maybe that's also a good segue into Expo, because Expo is around the corner. We're about 4 weeks away. Once again, there will be a lot of South Africans wearing your product. But more importantly, for me, when I look at Expo, it's almost like the Olympics for ideas and for business. So it's great to see Veldskoen also, taking what you've learned in terms of all that representation with our athletes and our South Africans that are represented in Africa at a global stage. Now you are doing that for business in the UAE. So how do you read that situation?
Listen, it's very easy for us. We've always realized that as a South African business and we're a small business, you have to collaborate and you have to partner in order to share audience and to reach a greater platform. So we have been very strategic in how we pick who we work with and where we work. They have to align from a business perspective in terms of our value set and in terms of an openness. And that means that we seek out what we refer to internally as really blue chip opportunities. And those are very few in the world. We've collaborated with some incredible people to do some incredible work, in the conservation space. We've partnered with the likes of Kevin Peterson and his group Sarai. And we've got collaborative shoes that are coming out with many parties, and we've worked with many businesses. But platforms like the Olympics obviously give you a global visibility. Let's face it, Dubai 2020 is the pinnacle of a platform that could be used by a business from South Africa to reach a global audience. It has been the most spoken about platform globally in terms of a business networking and marketing platform with which people could use and launch and gain great benefit. And then I think, the SA Business Council and Chamber and all the stakeholders that are participating in Expo 2020 have built a platform where we as business have singularly the biggest opportunity from a business networking perspective that we could get. To not seize that opportunity is a mistake, and to not then throw the weight of our endeavor behind it would be a tremendous opportunity lost. So for us, it's a complete given. The platform has been built for us, off which to help launch into not just that territory but globally, because of course Expo 2020 I think will be the biggest global showcase for business in the world. From a global perspective. And so for us, it makes absolute sense to make sure that our presence is there and to make sure that our presence is felt and hopefully be on the ground where it counts, on people's feet while they walk through the halls and the many avenues that you can find at Expo to do business and to grow and to hopefully have Veldskoen be a part of many other companies' journeys to try and succeed globally. We even if we can play a very small part, just being on the feet of some of our compatriots in business in South Africa with you and with Expo, what a privilege to be able to do so.
Yeah, I think the one other point you raised there is the global scale is bringing multiple stakeholders from around the world into this landscape where we're going to have multiple conversations to really look at different value chains, look at different markets, and ultimately understand how we can promote and elevate authentic business. And one big thing you said there is even though that's hosted in the UAE is be seen as a corridor to Africa and also to global markets. So, you mentioned that briefly that Veldskoen sees that as an opportunity to almost link that value chain for yourselves into how you reach other markets. But how are you thinking about how that applies to the digital side of your business? Because you obviously are reaching multiple audiences across the world. You're leveraging Expo now as that platform to actually really go and accelerate that. What nuances do you find are going to be very important for your brand when you are represented at Expo?
I think there's two very important factors here. If you think of Expo as a platform, I think companies and brands like myself have two opportunities here. One is to amplify through the platform itself. So in other words, make sure that our storytelling is tight in order to reach that global audience through the filter or through the amplification of Expo. But the second part, which is maybe even more important, is to realize that Expo will be a platform for global businesses to find unique brands and businesses from Africa and specifically South Africa. And that is prevalent globally now, right? I mean, global businesses are looking to new brands outside of the traditional territories, which would be probably the East and the US. There's this like move in the world towards authentic brand and authentic business stories, and that's coming at us. And I think what's important is that when we start telling our brand story and using a platform like Expo, it's not just to amplify through that and at other businesses, but to be very aware that they're going to be looking for us through that platform, through the magnet that Expo will be. There's a natural transition in the world looking for more authentic stories and more brands from other parts of the world. And that includes the supply chain and the value chain, because I think as we're connected through hubs like Dubai, things like exporting and all the arrangements we've got through AGOA and BRICS and all the rest of it, these things start coming into play from a margin and a price perspective. So they're looking at us. And we as a brand have to be ready to perform. So in terms of how we're going to be using the platform, we're going to be generating unique content that makes us visible to those looking for us, but we're also going to be searching for partnerships globally, and we're going to conduct ourselves in a way that storytelling as accurately and perfectly as possible, make sure that we can deliver that message. And then I think the last thing to just bear in mind is that we need to be business ready, because this is high performance. These people are coming and they're looking to do deals and they're looking to make relationships, which means you've got to be business ready. So operationally, our team is gearing up. Operationally, our team is making sure that we can deliver world-class business relationships from a ground up level, and to make sure that we can execute tightly into those supply chains. And I think that's important. So from a gearing perspective, it's about storytelling both directions, and then as well gearing up to be able to deliver.
Yeah, and I think, Nick, the key point there is the storytelling, right? As South Africans, as we compete at a global scale with our business ideas, and again, the businesses that we have that are creating these unbelievable products in South Africa, we need to be able to amplify those stories at Expo and to make sure that we really hit all those key unique components. And it's great to know that you and your business are supporting Expo to the level that you are. It's going to be excited about the partnerships that are going to be created and the access that you will get out of being at Expo. Maybe some closing thoughts on when are we going to see you actually boots on the ground here in Dubai?
We're coming. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you a little quick anecdote about how South Africa works. We've just recently been the shoe for the Olympic Games. And this is going to relate directly to Expo. We were wanting to be the shoe for the Olympians. And of course, we had no idea how to do that, because who does, right? Like, how do you set out and go, okay, cool, we're going to do this? Like, nobody knows how to do this. But there's this great ingenuity in South Africa. But when you also don't know how to do something, the trick is to just ask for help. And the wonderful thing about what happened with Veldskoen in the Olympics is that we had no idea how to do it. So my colleague, Nick Latov, had this idea. He said, Nick, why don't we just ask South Africa for help? I said, how do we ask South Africa for help? So he said, I'm going to film you asking South Africa for help, and we're going to put it on social media. So I looked into a phone camera and I said to South Africa, listen, our dream is to be the shoe for the Olympians, and we have no idea how to do it. So we're asking for help. Can somebody tell us how to do this? And the next day, the CEO of Sascock South Africa, Ravi, phoned me and he says, Nick, I hear you're looking for me. How can we make this happen? And that started us on the journey to getting our shoes on the Olympians. The bottom line is that nobody knows what's going to happen at Expo, but I know that something amazing is going to happen. I can't define what it'll be, but we've got to come there, and our hearts have to be in the right place, and we have to be open, and we have to be passionate and enthusiastic. And I think the world will find that about not just Veldskoen, but about all of us as South Africans. We're open for business. We all know the challenges that we face at home, but we're going to come and we're going to highlight the fact that we've still got one of the greatest places on earth to be, and that our people are sensational people, and that if you do business with us, you're going to find value. Now, I know that Expo is going to help us perform at that level and spread that message, and we're going to get the chance to tell our stories. And you know something? How and what will be the exact outcome of that is impossible to tell. But one thing I do know is it's going to deliver value, and it's going to deliver growth, and it's going to deliver exposure. And that's because of the hard work that you guys have put in. It's the incredible platform that Expo is. And so from my side, we just can't wait to be there. We can't wait to participate. We can't wait to meet people. We can't wait to help other South African businesses. And if we go there with our hearts in the right place, I'm absolutely, it's not even I'm convinced, of course it's going to be a success. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think, Nick, the reason for the success is that we have great companies like yourself and leadership like yourself getting involved. And I mean, for all of us, the passion, the fact that we're also invested and we're all really interested in creating value is, I think, what's going to make the big difference for South Africa at the Expo. So It's great to have you guys part of it. We're excited about seeing you guys here when we launch. And as we said, it's around the corner. So on that note, thank you for making the time to join us. And I'm looking forward to actually seeing the Dubai Veldskoen here in the UAE. So thank you so much.
I can't wait to get there. And listen, just make sure you guys get your shoe sizes in, because I'm flying with bags of shoes, and you guys are going to be hitting the streets of Expo wearing Veldskoen, and you can talk all about your J-Bay Veldskoen or your Pinotage Veldskoen, and we can tell all these great stories about South Africa, the best surf breaks in the world, the best wine in the world. Veldskoen will be a conduit for us to just be proud about our country, and that's what we're coming to do. And a platform like this, I can't tell you how grateful we are, and we will bring our A game, I promise you.
Looking forward to it, and I'll definitely take you up on it as well. So thank you so much, Nick.
It's a pleasure, mate.